Love it or hate it, it's not going anywhere. I'm talking about Facebook. It might feel like it's not as cool as it used to be or as used, but the reality is it works, and it works really well for a human being-based business. We are going to dive into all the ways you can rock your Facebook and maybe love it a little more than hate it. Let's do this. You're listening to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in. Hey, Christy, we're talking all about Facebook today. Are you super excited?
Yeah, kind of. So I definitely fall into the love it or hate it category when it comes to Facebook, but it is a fantastic tool that we all need to be using in our business.
Totally. Okay, before we talk about Facebook, how was your weekend?
My weekend was interesting with daylight savings time.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of always flips things a little bit, but it's Monday. I have exercised. I have showered. I have clothes on. So and Kaya got to school on time. I feel like I'm winning. How was your weekend?
Good. I have a couple of stories to tell you.
Oh.
Okay. So my first story is, I don't know why Mark decided he wanted to cook dinner for me because he never cooks dinner. He has cooked dinner one time since COVID. And the only reason he cooked dinner that time is because I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. And I think he thought that if I don't do something nice for Beth, she's going to really go off the deep end. And so then he made meatloaf and got a bottle of wine and he pulled out all the stops. So then the other night he's like, I'll make dinner on Friday night. I'm like, great. I have an open house and then I'm going to stop by Maud. She's doing a little International Women's Day thingy and then I'll be home. And so then he calls me halfway through the day and he goes, I have a question. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, where do I buy chili? And I'm like, what do you mean? Is this like a trick question? What do you mean? Where do you buy chili? I'm like, you can buy it in a can at Cub. And then Carrie was sitting here. She heard him and she goes, he can buy it in the deli section at Byerly's and Lund's. And he goes, we're having chili dogs for dinner. I just wanted to give you the heads up.
Stop it. And
I'm like, I don't even like hot dogs. Mark loves hot dogs. But he's been going to lunch at Bunny's lately. And I'm like, that's not my jam. It's like that local yokel place. I'm like, I'll do Bunnies once a year. And he's like, they took hot dogs off the menu, so I've been really have a hankering for chili cheese dogs. And I'm that's
not cooking dinner, by the way.
He doesn't get that. And because I said, if your idea of cooking dinner is making a pizza, then forget it, because I can do that myself. I'm like, he's like, no, I'm actually going to make dinner. So he went and got cheesecake. The cheesecake part was delicious. And then he made chili cheese dogs, but he chopped up onions, which I don't put onions on hot dogs. That's gross. And then chili, which I don't normally put chili on hot dogs either, because that's also gross. But I did to make him happy. And then I did cheese. So yeah, that was our dinner. And macaroni and cheese, but he didn't cook it. I mean, I felt like my rings wouldn't come off because I had so much sodium for a couple of days. But the thought that I didn't have to make dinner was actually pretty awesome.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So that's my story number one. Story number two is Carrie and I were hosting a baby shower with a third girlfriend from Rotary. And it was at her house for another girl in Rotary that's pregnant. And we're doing this co-ed baby shower and we are totally running late. Carrie is over here. Carrie left for go on vacation yesterday. And the girl texts us, Maud is her name, and she goes, you guys know it's daylight savings, right? She thought that we were totally running late. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's daylight savings. And she goes, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to text you when the baby shower is starting and you two are like, oh, we still have an hour. I'm like, no, we're on our way. And the game that we played, have you ever played the dirty diaper game at a baby shower?
I've seen it at a baby shower before.
Okay, it's so freaking funny where you put a candy bar in the diaper and then microwave it. And so it's all chocolatey and melty. And we had 8 diapers with 8 different kinds of candy bars in it. But this is a co-ed shower. And so all these guys, so I have pictures of all these guys like sniffing diapers and they're like, oh my God, this looks real. And I'm like, it's all just candy. I'm like, feel free to taste it if you want. I'm like, you do you, whatever you got to do to win the game. So that was the game we played. But everybody thought it was really fun because nobody had played it before, not even the mama to be. So
chili dogs and dirty diapers.
Chili dogs and dirty diapers. It was a really glamorous weekend. Let me tell you. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, let's talk about Facebook, shall we?
Talk about Facebook.
It's better than dirty diapers.
I mean, is it? Is it though? Really? No, it is. Okay, so I'm here to tell you. We're here to tell you Facebook is legit.
3.05 billion monthly users would probably tell you it's better than dirty diapers.
This is true. And most social media platforms will struggle to reach as many. They don't even get as close as Facebook.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah. So when we think about social media platforms in general and the reach and how we reach, Instagram is still a fan favorite, right? We all like Instagram, even though it's changed so much. But Facebook will reach more people and they're active users.
Yeah, over 2 billion people daily use Facebook. I mean, that number kind of blows my mind. And that's a fresh number. That's for like 2024. We pulled fresh stats for this. And I think people think it's like the has-been of social media. Mm-hmm. But I love that so many people in my life that I don't see regularly are on Facebook. And that's a great way to stay in touch with everyone.
It's a great way. And you typically have different followers there than Instagram, for instance.
Or just TikTok and any of the other platforms.
Yeah, TikTok. They're all, you'll have some crossover, right? And that's great. But you'll typically have different users on Facebook. And over 70% of the country's population uses Facebook. So that's not true for the other platforms as well. So when we think about marketing and reach and, really growing our sphere, right? Like the people that we're already in our database, that we already know, like, and trust us. Facebook is such a great place to do that. And Beth, you rock this. You really do with your connections on Facebook. And what we've seen the team do on Facebook as well has been very successful.
Yeah. When you and I started working together and we went really hard on Instagram because I felt like I hadn't mastered that up until that point. And really putting strategies in place. I was like, Facebook, peace out. I'm done with you. And then I was realizing oh, wait a second. There's so many people in my life that we are not friends on Instagram. Mm-hmm. They're still sitting over there in Facebook land. And I'm there's a huge missed opportunity by not staying in touch with those people. And so then when I started re-engaging, especially when I put design stuff on Facebook, people lose their minds about that, like decorating holiday stuff, my flips. That's what everybody wants to talk about. And then when I see people in real life, which is awesome to take it off a social media platform, and I'm at a baby shower or wherever, and people are talking about stuff that they saw on my Facebook, I'm like, yeah, this is working. I can't believe that I even thought that I wouldn't use it for a while. That was totally missed opportunity on my part.
It gets a bad rap, Facebook, really.
Totally.
And how we use it is different than Instagram or TikTok or email marketing, really. But you can connect with on such a personal level there that makes sense. And as much, you'll get different engagement as well, right? Like your engagement on Facebook can be even more so on certain things that you're posting on different areas of your brand and connection. And you have more flexibility with sharing personal things and all that on Facebook, which we won't get into all of that. We did do another Facebook episode, so definitely go check that one out as well. But where we share more on that. But there are so many ways that you can use this as a really great tool instead of just tossing it aside, because the reality is, as much as we want to hate it, just that many people are still using it. All of those numbers we just said, 70% of the country's population still use it. Something I think is really interesting too is there are more male Facebook users than female.
Super shocking.
Super fascinating. Yeah, it's really interesting. So if you think of areas where you can reach others, right? As opposed to like Instagram again, or through TikTok or through Threads, like all these other platforms, the male users, and they're active on Facebook. So I really think that that's fascinating and something to really think about when you are exploring ideas on how to market to others.
Well, and the average person is on Facebook 30 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what are we doing as real estate agents and as business owners to like meet them where they're at and, you know, showcase our business, showcase personal things about ourselves, like, you know, have interaction and dialogue and make connections with other people. Like if we aren't on there, like providing value, someone else is going to be.
This also goes with, so if we think about like the majority of Facebook users are also on Instagram, not all of them, but the majority. And so if we think of how to, you know, take the content that we're already creating for Instagram and repurposing it on Facebook, it makes it so easy. And you can do it in a little bit of a different way where you can tweak it just a little bit too. So even though the majority of people are on Instagram too, just the algorithm and what people are seeing, your approach to what you are saying or sharing, like they can be different, but it doesn't mean it's that much more work.
Right. I like that it brings in like the human aspect of me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I've never been that one to post on Facebook and just like, I don't know, like air your dirty laundry. You know, there's plenty of that still on social media.
Oh, sure
I feel like is there a name for that? Like oversharing posting? Like I mean,
we could name it whatever we want. I'd say oversharing.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that there's a time and a place for that on social media really ever. You know, like I had this beef with someone at the grocery store like that. There's no need for that on social media, in my opinion. But like, you can get a glimpse into someone. Like I have so many people that ask about Birch because they see her on social media and they see her on Facebook. And like, then people will come up to me, like people that I don't like, maybe I know them on a business level, but I don't know them on a personal level. And they're like, oh, it looked like you and Mark had so much fun, blah, 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 you know, doing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, oh yeah, like they saw that on social media. So like people are watching, people want to know what you're up to. So like, how can you just bring that personal human element into it outside of like Beth the realtor?
It is also, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's it's a unique place to, it can help change others' preconceptions of you.
Yes.
Make you more human. So that is something where we talk a lot about that disconnect if we're not, you know, posting on brand or in brand voice or serving correctly on our social media platforms and how to come back from that. Facebook is a really easy way and like a really good tool if you feel like you may have done that to sort of flip that script. It can actually change because people will perceive you differently when you share the real part of your life, right? Like the more personal things, again, not the dirty laundry, but that can really flip that script and help you if you feel like you're stuck or keep you going in the right direction with that.
Yeah, I love that. The one thing that's been really interesting to see, you and I have a girlfriend in real estate and she gets so much business. And I'm like, I finally asked her, I'm like, where is the bulk of your business coming from? And she's like, Facebook mom groups. And I'm like, oh, holy crap. Like, I'm not a mom, but there are Facebook groups all over to be a part of. And it's free. It's totally free.
Totally free.
And then once she started getting like a brand following and people started doing business with her, now anytime anyone's like, oh, we need a real estate agent in blah, blah, blah city, this girl's name floats to the top of the pile every single time because she's got all these mama bears that are like, now they're like her brand ambassadors. She almost, the girl that's the actual agent almost doesn't need to do the work anymore. Because everyone else is like, oh, call so-and-so, like it's going to be the best for your business. And it's like, that was all from Facebook. And she didn't even have to pay for any of that marketing.
That is such a beautiful example of how to utilize Facebook groups in a really wonderful way.
Yeah.
Right. Like in a really effective way. You know, how many times are we in a Facebook group, even if it's our community group, right? Like just our local group or whatever you're in, mom group, local group, if you recipes, whatever you're in. And someone will just constantly promote themselves on that day where you can promote. And it's just very like stale. Those
Or it
when
feels
you
gross and salesy.
feels gross and salesy. If
Ugh.
you actually have others where your name comes up because you have served in such a way that it just makes sense for them and your name's just coming up over and over in a Facebook group, that is winning. Like
Organically.
she has won. Yeah, that's organic.
Yeah.
Like that's organic marketing she's not even trying at that point, right? Because she's already established herself within that area without having to overly sell herself.
And not having to spend $10,000 a month on Zillow leads.
Oh gosh.
When we specifically talked about a couple episodes back about not having to buy online leads, this is the perfect example. Like this gal is crushing it in this department. So it's like, what are you into? What are your hobbies? Like, what are your interests and likes? Like, find some Facebook groups that, where you can like find your people.
This reminds me so much of how Carrie on the team has utilized Facebook and is like rocking her community Facebook group.
Oh my gosh, it's so genius. She had a Facebook group for her neighborhood and some guy that was like what's the name of it again? Like
Moderator.
The moderator of the set the group up. He doesn't even live in the neighborhood anymore. So she reached out to him and she's like, hey, so-and-so, I see that you moved, would you mind if I took over the page? And he's like, sure. So she loves to serve. She loves to come from contribution and she's in the know on everything. So now she's in charge of the Facebook page for her whole entire neighborhood.
I love this.
It makes sense.
It makes so much sense. And you don't have to do that, right? But you can find ways to be really active in these groups without spending a ton of time and to get your name to like get to the top of the pile when like people are asking for a realtor or for whatever business that you're offering.
Yeah, it's so cool.
We have utilized Facebook on the team also for like direct messaging as far as growing email lists and strategies there. And they have been really successful. Yep. So you might think, again, no one wants to hear from me. But if you reach out and you're like, hey, I'm starting my email list or I'm growing XYZ, can I add you to it? A friend that you haven't like overly sold to and you haven't made them feel gross with what you're doing that wants to genuinely support you, they're probably going to say yes. So we've had success with this with agents on the team every single time really that they've done it. This is also a really cool use of Facebook and something different that you can't do on the other platforms the same way.
I had a friend from second grade reach out and ask for help selling her parents' house. Second grade. We went to Woodcrest Baptist together. Like a lifetime ago. And I've only seen her a couple of times since adulthood. But she's like, I probably know 6 different agents, but for, what we need with our family, she's like, you're totally the best fit. And so she's like, that's why you were just like the natural person to reach out to. I'm like, oh, thank you. That was really nice of her.
That brings me back to like who do you add as a friend on Facebook, right? And how we use Facebook and making sure your personal page, you're still not sharing anything that you wouldn't want a client to see, right? So my take on it is to friend everyone. If you get a friend request or people, like you friend everyone and you use it as like an extension of your brand, right? As an extension of your business brand, as your personal Facebook page. So we dive into this on episode 77, how to use your Facebook page for your business. But when you mentioned your friend from second grade, that's such a great example of, would you necessarily still be friends with all of these people? Or, if someone that knew you 20 years ago, friend requests you, like, do you add them? Or if you see, on Facebook, like mentions people that you should be friends with, like, right? Do you actually click add friend and see if they'll accept it? Absolutely, yes. You friend everyone you can, and then you use it as a tool for your business.
I love that. And it just is creating more of that know, like, and trust factor. People want to do business with people that they deem trustworthy, that they feel like they have some sort of connection with. And if if I'm on Facebook posting about my flips and funny stories about Mark and, have Birch in the office every day, people are making connections to that on some level. And someone from second grade circles back. She knows a whole bunch of agents. And she's like, you just feel like the perfect fit to help me sell my parents' house. I'm like, thank you.
I love that. That's so great.
Yeah.
So going back to, the question of, do I have a business Facebook? Do I have a personal Facebook? Do I have both? The reality is both is best, right? And you need a business Facebook for some things. However, your personal page needs to be an extension of your brand. It needs to be an extension of your business page. And you'll have more eyes on your personal page than your business page.
Mm-hmm.
So really like making sure, of course, you're sharing more personal things on your Facebook, right? Because you genuinely want to connect and you just would in general on a Facebook page. It makes more sense. That's what people expect from you. Friends, family, anyone that is friends with you on Facebook, like that's what they want to see. That's why they're there. They're going to instantly feel more connected to you personally because they are friends with you on Facebook, which is the magic of Facebook in general. So making sure that you use that as the extension of your business, right? As the extension of your brand though, when you do post. So it helps you establish your brand voice. It keeps you top of mind, helps build, like Beth mentioned, the know, like, trust factor. And again, which reduces your overall marketing costs, right? You're already connecting, you're in Facebook groups. And this is just something that you could not do before Facebook. You just could not do this back in the day. I mean, no. I'm sure, Beth, for you, when you started, it was very different when you weren't connected on social media platforms.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It made sense. Like when I lived in Florida, why and I joke about it. I joke, but I don't, I'm being dead serious at the same time where I'm like, I feel like it was like self-fulfilled prophecy where I'm like, I'm not going to be successful in Florida because I'm not from Florida. Well, I mean, if I lived in Florida today and I could start up a real estate business down there with my eyes closed now with the tools that I have and with all these things I have at my fingertips, back in the day, I would have had to get involved in several different organizations and groups to have made the same amount of connections that I can make on Facebook today just by sitting in my pajamas, like, tickly, click, 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 and like liking and hearting and, oh my gosh, your kid is so cute. Happy first birthday, blah, blah, blah.
And gathering information like happy first birthday, when that first birthday is, right? You're connected. Facebook is brilliant in a way that it reminds us of all these things, memories and anniversaries. It's fantastic. Like using that and going back to, like, if you were to move to Florida, for example, and you needed to start all over, right? Yeah. And you have these connections and you had the tools that you now have and the knowledge that you now have, you can do all this without spending all that money on those online leads, which we talked about a couple episodes ago. And I'm sorry, I can't get over this. Actually, I'm not going to even apologize because I can't get over that. Like this idea that we have to spend all of this money. And if you are moving to a new city, which we've done an episode on that too, like an agent moving to a new city on how to grow a business, starting from scratch, really. Well, you can do that without spending a ton of money if you understand that this is like a marketing tool and you can use it to your advantage. It's completely different.
1000%. Yeah. Well, Chrissy, let's talk a little bit about like Instagram versus Facebook and like, how do you operate your Facebook page differently than you potentially would on Instagram?
This is a great question. And I think this is constantly evolving, really. So typically we would go to Instagram for inspiration, right? That is typically what we would have done in the past. And now they're saying you use it maybe for different things, but let's just go with the typical reason we go to Instagram is for inspiration, right? We want to see the pretty thing. We want to be inspired. We want to learn something, that sort of thing. Facebook, we still go to when we're bored. We go there when we're bored. Yeah. And so like we'll scroll, and that's why when you think of the average person spends 30 minutes on Facebook, like that is a long time on Facebook. Like that is a lot. And even if, you're like, I don't spend 30 minutes. Well, what if you spend 10 and they see your post and then that's connected to your brand and they remember you, right? You're front of mind when the question comes up of who do I go to for real estate? Or if a friend asks a question about who do I go to for real estate? So when we talk about how to use them differently, like Instagram, again, you want to inspire, you can educate. Facebook, you're connected to those friends like that from second grade, right? Yeah. So your audience is a little bit, it was like deeper, like them, you're connected in a different way, where Instagram, you tend to grab people from, everywhere. Yeah. More so easily. So once you grow your Facebook page, you might find that is a little bit more crossover. But just to start with, like those are personal connections. So you can share things like Birch, which we do share on both pages, right? But you can share more personal things on your Facebook page than Instagram because it will usually make more sense. It just usually makes more sense for your brand. So it's a great way to connect it all together.
Yeah. I mean, the Facebook friends from second grade, but like parents' friends and that type of thing, just like these things. Sometimes Facebook makes you feel like you're walking down memory lane.
Yes, and that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah. And have friends like from I don't know, from like back in like church camp days, like when you go away for like sleepover camp from youth group. Like I have friends that send me like the funniest memes are like, oh my God, does this remind you of blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, it does. But it's like that thought would have like never entered my mind in a million years had somebody not sent me like the stupidest meme ever. And they're like, oh my God, this reminded me of you. And when you used to dress like blah, blah, blah. I used to wear Ralph Lauren, like head to toe. People used to call me Granimal Matchables because I had everything matched. So it's like people from like that era of my life, and they're still like sending me stuff that like reminds them of me from like the 90s and actually like the 80s, like that kind of stuff. I mean, we pay big money for people to market. I can't even.
Gosh.
It's amazing the impact that has.
Yeah, they can know you at such a different level. And if, just to make it easy to understand here is Facebook's more off the cuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit less, Instagram is more curated. Facebook's a little more off the cuff.
Well, so and I think that's why people air their dirty laundry on there. But I'm like, because they're like, oh, it is off the cuff. And you're like, whoa, rein it back in. I'm seeing a train wreck happening. Stop.
I mean, but also with that, if you can collect information, if they are airing that dirty laundry, that could potentially help.
You're like, ooh, I see a divorce happening out here.
Right?
Maybe they need to buy and sell.
Instagram, like we all know, it's a little more curated. That's just the way it is. Yeah. And it's probably going to stay that way. So Facebook gives us a little more off the cuff. Like I'm not as afraid to reach out to someone on Facebook, right? I'm not as afraid to comment, or I'm not as afraid to send them a message on there because it feels more personal. Use that.
Yes.
Like use that.
1000%. Yeah, it's interesting, like kind of like the revelations that I have, like when I was just putting all my attention on Instagram and not really giving the Facebook the love that I should have been giving it for a while. And I had a gal reach out to me and she's like, we met you years ago and I've been following your Facebook ever since. And she goes, and now this is a year we're going to buy a house. And I'm like looking at the name going, gosh, this name looks familiar. And then I had to click on it and zoom in. I'm like, oh my God. I showed them houses. I showed them like 3 houses. That's it. And I didn't share my Facebook with her. She found me on Facebook. And
we're searching. You search for people when you meet them. Like who isn't looking once you,
right.
We all know we're doing that.
And then she had been following along this whole time for like a handful of years. And now I would say this gal's one of my biggest cheerleaders.
Oh, I love that.
I walked alongside them. The husband, like 5 seconds after they moved into their house, the husband went through a cancer journey and like, it was touch and go. Like, and then I'm like, he's my age. I'm like, and she, their second marriage and they're just like, oh my God, like she met the love of her life and now they bought their first house together and now he's like dying of cancer. And like the whole, I was on the roller coaster with them. And like these people, we are going to be connected for life. And thank God he came through it. And now he came to the Christmas party. I'm like, oh my God, it's so exciting to see you like out and about and living life again. And he is back to work. And he goes, Beth, he's like, there's so many times. He's like, I didn't even think it was going to happen. He's like, I thought like I had one foot in that I was a goner. So, I mean, to be like that emotionally invested with people and, anytime anyone needs a real estate agent, they are singing my praises. They had a puppy pass away last week. I'm like, I dropped a little note in the mail. It's like, now we're like bonded for life. For sure.
You're invested in each other, right? So it's not just a give or just a take. It's a mutual investment, which is really the beauty of Facebook.
Yeah, it's so incredible. But like had we not had that connection, or had she not originally had that connection with me on Facebook that I didn't even know that she had, that online lead would have never gone anywhere. It just would have like died on the vine because we had lost connection with one another. And, I wasn't on the team anymore that I had been on. And so I'm like, now I feel like, we for sure have a relationship in real life. Like this is not an online relationship. We are in real life, folks. And it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really so great. Awesome. So yeah, investing in each other, like building those true connections so they know, like, and trust you. Yeah. Facebook is such a great tool for that. We touched on, how to use private groups, and we could do an entire episode, or if not 2, on just how to use private groups
for sure
in Facebook. But getting those groups and like get active, like that is something that is also a really great way to move your business forward.
I love it.
What if we touch a little bit on, I think the question that comes up, or I do know the question that comes up a lot is, what exactly do I post, right? And so how do you approach what I post on Facebook? I don't actually know. And what really, if we just sort of nutshell it, not knowing what your brand is right now and exactly who you are serving, is make sure that every post is serving and that you're using it in an uplifting, positive way. And I'm not talking toxic positivity here, just making sure that your post is actually serving others. It's not self-serving, which we've talked about so many times on this podcast, in your email marketing, on social media, in all of your marketing and all your relationships with others in general. Like, serve them first.
Yeah. Well, and I think, so, if you're wondering like how that can be done, I think storytelling is a great way to get people to be like, oh my gosh, I can see myself in that story. Especially if I get, for me, a lot of times I'll tell funny stories about Mark and people are like, oh gosh, same thing, and you're just like, you're reading it and you're shaking your head because you're like, yeah, this is the same crazy stuff that's going down at my house too. And I just can't believe that this, thankfully this is happening at everybody's house because their spouses are just making you nuts. But like, I also love to get engagement. Like when I posted about painting our bedroom black, I'm like, would you be bold enough to paint a room black? And the messages were flying. People are like, hell no. But, a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, I would love to, but I'm not brave enough. But like, how can you like get an interaction, like posing questions and telling stories? There's such easy ways to create conversation and a dialogue.
And they're fun.
And then before you know it, there's like 50 people commenting. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you know Christy. How do you know Christy? And you're like, I didn't know you two knew each other. And then all of a sudden you're making like this triangle effect of people that all know one another. It's incredible.
It's really amazing. And you bringing up storytelling, Beth, like that. I'm so glad you brought that up because we did an episode, or I think I did an episode actually, on the power of storytelling. Yes. And I don't have the number handy here, but go back and check it out because your story is one of your most powerful marketing tools that you have. Yeah. And so the storytelling piece of this and how that works on Facebook it's beautiful. It's such a cool way to reach others and to do it in a way that you can actually engage back and forth. And I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's the first thing that pops into my head when someone's like, I don't know what to post. I had coffee with a lender the other day. He's like, I don't know what to post on my emails. I'm like, we just gave you a list of 10 last week of things to be doing. Like, it's so easy. You have all the information in your head. Mm-hmm. To get out of your head and just start jotting some notes down. We've been working on this with Carrie too. She's like, I just don't know that anybody wants to hear from me. And then the minute she posts something about, the burnt ends that she made on her Traeger, everyone's like, oh my God, I'm coming over for dinner, your house tomorrow night. And it's like, people are fascinated that, Carrie's become like the Traeger smoker queen and she can make burnt ends that are better than any restaurant in the whole entire Twin Cities. And it's like, I don't know. I just think that it's fun. It's a fun way to connect with people, fun way to showcase the interests that you have. And you never know what kind of connections you're going to make because of you just sharing from a place of authenticity.
Yes. And stop telling yourself the story that no one wants to hear from you. Instead, share your story.
Yes. 1,000%.
Really? Yes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get you inspired. So you're like, okay, I know Beth and Christy, I need to get back on Facebook. Hopefully this is like the nagging mother. My mom calls me all the time. She called during the show and I'm sure she's going to nag about something. And I love my mom to death. But like, just think of Beth and Christy as your nagging moms. They're just like, I know, girls, we need to get back on Facebook and just do it.
When people know, like, and trust you, they want to hang out with you and be in your circle. So make them feel like they're already in it.
Yeah. Boom. Mic drop.
Mic drop. All right, Bus Bench Babe. So we hope this left you inspired to post on Facebook. And until next time, remember to keep your face off a bus bench.
And keep being the badass boss babes that you are.
Okay, girls. Are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.